Hey everybody, welcome back to the Steelers chat. And today I have my lovely friend Chris Carter here. How you doing, Chris? From Locked On Steelers, by the way. Don't forget that.
Thank you. Also, the Pittsburgh Post Gazette. But D, how you doing? I'm doing great. Just charging forward with the season, covering Steelers, covering Pitt. It's been a great fall, even though there's been some ups and downs. But hey, you know what? I think the Steelers, they've shown some exciting things of late, and I think that's what's should have some fans excited for the future.
Yes, and that's the important part, right? We're on a good track here, and that's kind of where we just gonna have to start right here and talk about the progression of Kenny Pickett. I think he's doing what I thought he was gonna do, kind of settling in, getting comfortable, learning his guys, just learning the offense as a whole, and probably getting a little creative with Matt Canada. How are you feeling about it?
I like what I've seen from Kenny Pickett as far as the decision-making process getting better. He still can get sharper there, but again, for a rookie, you have to temper your expectations. You can't come in and think he's just going to light it up.
Right.
And I think people that thought that when people said pro ready, that meant he was about to just come in here and be Patrick Mahomes. That's not what that means. It just means he's ready to kind of learn at the professional level. But here's the thing, D. He's showing that. He talked to,
Yeah.
Mason Cole talked about it this week with how Kenny Pickett was the one who came up with the idea for the Benny Snell touchdown run. And then when to hear Kenny Pickett break it down in his Wednesday press conference saying, hey, I looked at them on film. The Colts, they're really good against the pass in the red zone. They've been really struggling to stop the run when we spread them out wide. So I figured we just use me as a potential option. There's two off-ball guys. If one of them is distracted by me, then it gives Benny Snell a one-on-one chance to win. But then both of them were distracted by me.
Yeah.
So he was able to walk into the fact that he could think at that level already, I think is really good. It doesn't mean he's ready to be the, Joe Montana or the guru or anything like that. But it does mean he is learning and he's showing his football IQ as a rookie, which is a very good sign.
And that's what like go back to the point that you made about saying NFL ready, but it's really about having that capacity to like understand and break things down, like and know the tempo and all of that. The capacity, he probably just had the appearance of having the capacity to play in the NFL, maybe not day one, but and I just think that he's showing that even in the
Mm-hmm.
leadership. I don't think the guys are complaining about who they have at QB. So that's great.
They're
So
not.
that's
Yeah,
great.
the Steelers. I'm telling you, a lot of the Steelers players, they're appreciating Kenny Pickett right now. They're
Yeah.
liking what he's bringing, and they also see that he's no nonsense. There are some first round pick guys who come in and they feel entitled because you know what, I don't need to, like the way Zach Wilson came off with the Jets when he was just like, no, I didn't let the defense down, even though my offense got 2 yards in the second half. But you never hear that from Kenny Pickett. He challenges himself and he challenges his offensive teammates. He's like, we got to do this. We got to do that. I got to do this. I think that there's a lot of signs of the leader that the Steelers drafted. This is what I said. This is who I said Kenny Pickett was at Pitt when I covered him for his last 2 seasons there.
Mhm.
He's a leader. He's going to hold people accountable, and he's going to lift the locker room. Truly think there's an answer there for the Steelers long term. And again, the Steelers, they do like him, and I think it's not been a perfect season by any means, but
Right.
I think the biggest thing anyone wanted to see this year was proof that Kenny Pickett was a good draft pick. And we still don't know the full answer to that, but we're seeing progress. And as long as that progress continues, I think that'll make this season worth it in the long run.
I get a little frustrated when I hear like, "Oh, he shouldn't have been picked in the first round." The Steelers needed a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, that was their main priority going into that draft. I understand, you want to talk about the line, you want to talk about the defense, you want to talk about all these things, but a quarterback was priority.
Yep.
If and I don't care when he was drafted, that was priority for them, and they did what they were supposed to do. So that can go out the window. But speaking of the draft, I want you to
Mm-hmm.
put your GM hat on for a second here.
Uh-oh. That's
All right,
dangerous.
dust that thing off, put it on, and I want you
Okay.
to tell me what you would do with Alex Highsmith going into the
Oh, don't put me in that situation, D. Come on. Alex is my guy. I like talking to
Yeah.
Alex.
We love
He's
Alex.
everybody
The
should
whole
love Alex.
Highsmith family. Hi, y'all. Love
Yeah,
y'all.
they are great, by the way. Alex, Sam, all of them. They are extremely nice people. And Alex Highsmith is a baller right now. He got his 10th sack of the season Monday against the Colts. Single-handedly, I thought he shut the Colts down in that final fourth drive. He had the sack on first down, a tackle for loss on Jonathan Taylor on second down, and then on third down, and then on fourth down, he got the pressure that kind of stopped Matt Ryan from throwing a quick pass to the open man on a pick route, and that forced him to hold the ball. That allowed Cam Sutton and Minkah Fitzpatrick to recover, and they were able to have the breakup. He's earning every bit of it. Now, here's where it does get tricky.
Yeah.
Because the Steelers, for a while, a lot of people were assuming the Steelers were going to be top 5 in the picks. I said all along, I don't think they're going to end up that bad because they still got to play teams like the Colts, who they just beat. They got the Falcons this week. They still have the Panthers. They still have the Raiders. They have the Ravens twice, who haven't been too consistent this year. They still have the Browns. There's a chance the Steelers could end up into the mid to high teens when it comes to the picks in the NFL draft. And a lot of people, I think, were banking on the idea that the Steelers, well, if they finish in the top 5, they just go get Will Anderson Jr. from Alabama, and then they would just have the best edge rushers in football. And if that was the case, I said, if that was the case in that situation, if you knew that you had a really good shot at him or that you would trade up to get him or whatever like that, I would say, okay, in that situation, look to see what you can get for Alex Highsmith, a guy who's had double-digit sacks, who's been really progressing. Maybe you get a top draft pick for him, but you ain't getting that pick no more. And, there's some edge guys that you could draft in the first round, but this team doesn't need to draft another edge. They need to draft offensive linemen. They need to draft cornerbacks. I'm signing Alex Highsmith. I'm like, hey, man, listen, I can't sign you for TJ Watt money, but I can sign you for decent money. And you and TJ Watt could be the most prolific edge rushers in the NFL for the next 3 to 4 years. And then when you're at the end of that contract, people are going to want to pay you even more because you've been part of that and part of a great defense. That would be my selling point if I'm a Steelers GM, to get Alex Highsmith to a reasonable deal.
Don't wait. If you learned anything from Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, don't wait, Steelers. Sign him.
I agree.
He has proven himself. I don't think you need another year to figure it out. Sign him. Like that would be my advice. That would be my call going into this offseason. The numbers don't lie. They speak for themselves. And what is he leading the league in? Is it fumbles or strip?
It might be forced fumbles on sacks.
Yes, one sacks. Yep. So look, that's all you need right there, I think, and because that can potentially be game-making plays to put your team in a position to win the game. And I love that. I love that for Alex. Quiet guy, ain't saying too much, but doing it on the field.
Absolutely.
So corners, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about going forward with the corners? I'm happy for James Pierre. I feel like Cam Sutton has had to do a lot of work as a corner that we probably weren't anticipating. So I feel like his game probably isn't to the standard that we probably would like. But how are you feeling going forward with the corners currently on staff?
So that's tricky because they got a lot of 1-year rental type of guys. They got William Jackson III, who they traded for, but there's no way they're paying him the money that he was supposed to be making on the Washington Commanders. So
he's on the IR, correct?
He's on injury reserve right now. I would anticipate him maybe coming back in the final month or so, maybe in 2 or 3 weeks, and seeing if he can come back. If he can, then we'll see what he has for the Steelers. But next year he'd be owed like $12-something million. The Steelers are not paying that, and there's nothing guaranteed. Right. That ain't happening. But what might happen is if in the final 4 games he plays well, they might be like, hey, we're doing a new deal. Here's $5 or $6 million a year. We want a veteran cornerback presence. I can see them keeping him.
They'll throw him some change. It just won't be $12 million.
Exactly. Nothing like that. That's the kind of money that they would spend on an Alex Highsmith, a proven guy who's been a star type of player for them. So I would say that they look at Cam Sutton because Cam Sutton has been a leader for them. I think he's a very good technician. He's a guy that can play slot, play outside, help anywhere, and he finds a way to be competitive. But I say they keep 2 vets, maybe a third if they can get Levi Wallace for cheap. Akella Witherspoon's been hurt too much this year, and when he's been healthy, he's been getting burnt. But I think that this is the year that you go out and you get somebody in the draft, first, second round, either way. You go and get
Mhm.
yourself a number one style corner, a guy who's going to be able to be placed on an island. Your job is to
Gotta
stop Jamar Chase. Your job is to stop Amari Cooper. Your job is to stop whoever the number one receiver is on the other side of the football. You take them out of the game so that we can scheme around everybody else. Ike Taylor
yeah.
did that very well for the Steelers for years, and that was a big part of that defense that was a bit undersung. And I think that people always talk about Troy Polamalu and James Harrison, and rightfully so. They were great,
Yeah.
but they needed a guy who could follow the best receiver around and give them a hard time. Ike did that well. They need a guy to do that well. There's guys in this draft that everyone's going to be talking about. Cam Smith from South Carolina, Kelly Ringo from Georgia, Brian Branch from Alabama, Jalen Jones from Texas
Georgia
A.
boys.
Yeah, exactly. They got those people, Christian Gonzalez from Oregon, and of course the one that all Steelers fans want to talk about, Joey Porter Jr., the
Joey
son
Porter
of
Jr. from Penn State.
yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that was one of the guys on my list. How are you feeling? He has declared.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about the relationship, where he might fall? He's a top guy in this upcoming draft. Do you think the Steelers have a chance? I really don't like talking about draft this early, but
It's early. Yeah.
it kind of goes with the progression of this team. Like we're seeing what they are, but we're also seeing what they are not. So let's talk about it. Let's have the conversation. I think we're at a good point in the season where we can be talking about our holes. But I'm
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead and about Joey Porter.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I think it's safe to talk about it, but I think I always preface this anytime that we're talking draft in December, the bowls haven't happened, even though he's
Yeah,
not
nothing.
playing.
Nothing.
But we don't know how. Like there are guys who are, I guarantee you, aren't being talked about right now. Who are going to be the talk of draft day. Who'll be like, "Oh, that guy's great," and we didn't know he wasn't on nobody's watch list in
Right.
December. And I think what's going to happen is these guys are going to go have their pro days, have their combine, and they're going to have their numbers. And if Joey Porter runs a 4.4 flat and a great shuttle time and a great broad jump and a great vertical jump, then he might jump his
He's
way
gonna
up.
go up on the people's list, right?
Exactly. But right now, a lot of people have him slated to be like a mid to early second round pick, which would be perfect for the Steelers because then they can invest their first round pick in the offensive line. Then they can choose which of their 2 second round picks that they would want to go after him with. But also, again, there's a lot of, Joey Porter Jr., his size is great, 6'2", 200 pounds. He's going to be, and if he runs well, that makes him a really good prospect. But there's plenty of guys out there, like I said earlier, who I think could fit that mold of being a taller cornerback who can be athletic and fly around. Christian Gonzalez of Oregon, one of those guys. But there's a lot of guys who I think are going to be talked about that way. And again, we got to see how everyone tests out in the combine because how they run, how they perform there, that's going to dictate a lot of things. How do interviews go? But we know the Steelers. They love pedigree. They love lineage. They love people who have the historic that understand. And Mike Thomas talked about it before. If you have a relative, especially a parent who's gone through the NFL, you don't have to wonder the process. You know what the day-to-day life is and the challenges are, and that's
it.
Yeah, that's what they like. So they'll take a look at him for sure. There'll be interviews. Mike Tomlin definitely knows.
I don't even think that they and this is the thing, especially with guys that are in Pennsylvania, they already know a lot of what they need to know about these guys locally. And that's what one of the things about Kenny Pickett for me. Like the Steelers aren't paying Kenny Pickett much attention at all because they know everything.
Yeah.
Everything they needed to know about this kid, they knew. So they could go and see a Malik Willis and whoever else, none of these guys that really have started, I don't think. But any of the other guys in the quarterback draft from last year, they can spend time on them. They can throw you off on them. They can show their hand on him because they know everything about Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
And the guys in the Pennsylvania, Joey Porter, like they know exactly what they need to know. And there is no way in the world Mike Tomlin does not have this guy on his list at all. So absolutely. I just no way. He's not watching tape like, put him on the list. Yeah, so I'm excited just to see how that all plays out. I know it's early. And we have the Atlanta matchup here.
Sure.
And I'm excited because I think this team is getting some confidence. Like it's kind of hard to go from what you saw against Cincinnati, which was to me extremely winnable game up
Mm-hmm.
into a point, but the third quarters are killing this team.
Yeah,
I
they
don't
are.
know if it's just play calling. I don't know what it is. I think it's play calling, but I'm not 100% sure if it's that and execution. We'll just say it's both to be safe for me. What are you seeing in the third quarter with this team?
I think it's execution right now. I mean, you had the one play, third down. Kenny Pickett gets the progression he wants, sees George Pickens, throws the ball a little low, but then George Pickens drops it. If he
Yeah.
catches that pass, it resets everything and it gives the defense a break and it gives the Steelers the offense some confidence. And we saw when they got that first third down conversion in the second half, when they after that they were able to move the ball down the field. I think because this team is so young, a lot of their success is based off of momentum. And that's natural in the NFL. It's natural in sports. When you're a young team, what you're doing, data, is going to impact the next play more and more and more because you're going to ride the waves. It's not you haven't developed consistency enough. Like, Ben Roethlisberger, Marquise Pouncey, David Castro, when even Antonio Brown when he was there,
Mhm.
That when they were vets, longtime veterans, those are guys that can pick it up at the drop of a hat and be like, all right, let's go. This is the drive. But when you're a younger team, you need that momentum. You need to build that confidence because you're still figuring out how to play in those moments. So I do think about a bunch of it is a bunch of it is execution. And there are times, yeah, sure. I think it's interesting because a lot of people made a big deal about this, but the Colts players could be heard over the microphones on the broadcast saying, "Oh, they're the same
Same
plays,"
place. Yeah.
and the Bengals were bragging about, "Oh, they just called the same plays," and I'm like, "Well, wait a second. So Bengals, if they were running the same plays, how they scored 30 points on y'all with a rookie
Right.
quarterback?
That's true.
Colts, if they're running the same plays, how did Kenny Pickett lead like a 93-yard touchdown drive or something like that to take the lead in the fourth quarter against you when he's a rookie and you have Stephon Gilmore and all those other guys you've like? So if they're the same plays, and that's what I'm saying, like Mike Tom even addressed this in one of his Tuesdays where he was like, listen, everybody repeats plays at some
Yeah,
point.
it's impossible not to, right?
Exactly.
So
And
yeah.
I think there's times that it's oversold because people want to sound smart because like they know what the plays are, that the plays are the problem. And there's times I disagree with play calls. There's times I think that they should call more play action. They should give Kenny Pickett different first reads. But by and large, a lot of what the Steelers' problems right now when they're especially in the third quarter, is execution and hitting on those cylinders and building that momentum. I think that will be the key to them fixing those
Yeah.
problems.
And it just, I don't know if it's like a lack of confidence sometimes in the third. I don't know if it's just coming out of the halftime. I don't know what it is when the offense takes the field in the third quarter, those first few drives, just, I want the defense will come out most of the time, with some energy, you get a 3 and out back to back. And the offense is just dead. But
Mm-hmm.
I will speak, and I want to give Ben Roethlisberger some praise here
Mm-hmm.
because him being the veteran that he was, you can see with the young guys like a Deontay Johnson, he's putting these guys in great positions to excel. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where, like you said, this young team, you got a young quarterback, he's learning these guys, he's learning the operations of a football team. And that's why I wasn't so gun-ho on just putting Kenny out there and saying, figure it out, Kenny. But it's a lot to learn. And I do understand that you probably need to be out there to figure it out better than just watching from a sideline. But putting like a Deontay Johnson's been struggling.
He has been.
And just struggling with, not that he's playing badly per se, but just getting in positions, all of that. Like it's overall struggle. And I want to see him do good. I want him to get in the end zone. He had an opportunity on Monday to get a touchdown, but I want him to be successful. We're paying him to be this guy, and I want him to be the guy. And I think it's just a lack of it's just being youth and experience and knowledge and being able to kind of guide the guys like a Ben Roethlisberger would do. And I hope we get to see that sooner than later. I know we will. And but it's a struggle. It's a struggle right now.
It happens, and it happens with rookie quarterbacks to vet receivers. It's clear Kenny Pickett has a connection with George Pickens. He's trying to build one with Deontay Johnson, and it looked like they might have been figuring it out in the first quarter with back-to-back first down conversions to
Yes.
Deontay Johnson. But as we saw the game go on, it just kind of faded at times. Deontay Johnson knows he has to be better, but he also knows that he also has to kind of be a leader at times, even when he's not playing better. And I think it's a good thing that he understands that, and he's taking that challenge on. Is his production right now worth the money that he's being paid in the salary cap? No. but
Mhm.
there's time for them to figure that out. It's time for them to grow. I think it's important to have a veteran in the locker room that is a guy that knows how to get open.
And the craziest thing, like Juju would have been the veteran if he was still on this
Mm,
team, right?
he would have
He
been.
would have been the veteran on this team. But Pat Fryermuth, I'm officially calling him the anchor
Okay.
for this team and this offense because he's gonna hold it down in the middle of the field. He's gonna
He
be the
is.
guy, he's like they call him the security blanket on commentators, but I call him the anchor. Like he is going to hold it down. And that should be your guy. That should be all else fails Pat Fryermuth right there or something, because a lot of times he's kind of open in the middle of the field. I don't know if you guys are seeing it. But I see him available. But we go down the sideline to a George or Deontay or something like that. But he's the anchor, and he's another guy. You might be looking next year or so to be like, all right, what we got to do? Lock him down.
I mean, he certainly makes plays. Kenny Pickett seems to like to throw into him. Seems to like catching. He's getting better at blocking. I think he needs to be sharper there.
Yeah.
But certainly he's a playmaker and he's a weapon for you over the middle. He's a big reason why you were able to trade away Chase Claypool and get the draft pick that you got because
Yes.
you had his receiving presence. So certainly Pat Fryermuth doing a lot of the right things. Still needs to improve. I think biggest thing if he can become a more consistent blocker, especially in the run game. I think it makes him a more complete player and will be a true threat at the tight end position.
Yeah, I just love him. He's anchor from this point going forward. But Chris, thank you so much for joining me today. Please let everyone know where they can find your work, follow you, because y'all don't know, but he be over there on Steelers Twitter. That's
I'd
the
be out
dark
there.
side. I'm on the outskirts of the dark side, but Chris be over there.
Listen, y'all can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Carter Critiques. I always break things down. I am on Steelers Twitter. I interact with people, but like if y'all start acting crazy, Chris will ignore you and hit the mute button. So don't be saying no wild stuff. But I love talking Steelers there. I also do so on my show, Locked On Steelers, that you can find Monday through Friday, every day of the week, breaking things down, talking throughout our episodes. We have crossover Thursdays. We have Jenna Harner joining us on Friday to break things down as well. It's a great show. Also check me out at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, where I cover Pitt athletics, where I covered Pitt football. We're going to see where they get as far as a bowl game. I'm covering Pitt basketball right now for them. A lot of exciting stuff. Also see my work at Channel 11. I do fantasy football with them. Just finished up another high school football season of covering them then. So lots of great stuff. Thank you. And thanks, Dee, for having me on. It's always great to be on a
The
platform.
Steve Harvey of Steelers right here, Pittsburgh right here.
You gonna
Chris
stop with
Carter,
that Steve Harvey stuff.
Make sure you check him out. Wait, do you have a prediction for the game on Sunday
Yes,
against Atlanta?
23-17 Steelers.
That was kind of me. That was me kind of with the Colts. I don't know. I ain't ready yet, but I'm giving the Steelers the win though. We got this.
There you go.
All right. See you, Chris. Thanks so much for coming on.